Hey, so I wanted to record some of my thoughts about playing WoW on the Steam Deck after having it for about a month. Overall, I would say that I've had a very positive experience, and I'm really surprised about how well it worked out. Going in, I thought that it was going to be something that I would attempt and just be ready to abandon, but that completely changed. So if you're on the fence about getting a Steam Deck specifically to play WoW, I would say go for it. So yeah, let me talk about the pros and cons. I'll start with the cons first. It does take a little bit of tinkering to get bnet to run, but if you're okay with watching a YouTube video and going through the steps, I think that you'll be in good shape to get this running. I'll add a link in the description about the video that I used, but there's a bunch on there if you just want to search on YouTube. And after playing this game and other, Steam supported, Steam Deck verified games, this isn't really that much more tinkering than those other games. Overall, the Steam Deck in general takes a little bit more elbow grease to get things to run how you'd like. Even Steam Deck verified games, than say a console like an Xbox would. They're slowly getting better at that. Every Steam update that they do seems to improve the quality of life of playing games on the Steam Deck. And WoW is absolutely playable. So the other cons are controller configuration. It can be a pain. My initial goal for this whole thing, getting the Steam Deck, putting WoW in it, etc., was to play my main Mistweaver Monk, or at least any healer on there, and I think that's just not going to be possible. I have another video describing exactly what I was trying to do and demoing it with a Protection Paladin, but effectively I wanted to simulate click casting with one of the trackpads that clicking and tapping would simulate right and left click, along with the modifier keys like the trigger and alt and things like that, to allow me to just click cast heal on all the party members while I'm playing on the Steam Deck, which would effectively make it on par with playing on the desktop. For certain reasons that I'm not going to go into, that is only possible with 4 players, not 5. So that sucks, but I think that if you're a tank or a DPS, there's almost no restriction at all on the Steam Deck. For me right now, I'm not doing any serious content on the Steam Deck, but I think that given enough practice, you seriously could, push your highest keys on the Steam Deck as a tank or a DPS. So you can see my UI right here. I'll get to the good things now. So the good things are it runs fantastic. It has, WoW by far has the best battery life of any of the games I've played on the Steam Deck. And you could probably get 4 or even 5 hours seriously doing dungeons and questing and actual things that you do in the game on the Steam Deck, as opposed to 90 minutes for some games that I have, like Control. And it looks, if you have this maximized on your monitor, you can probably tell that the quality isn't as good as on a PC, but on the screen of the Steam Deck, this is very sharp. So maybe it's not the best representation of this video, but while playing, it's very, very nice. I don't think it looks bad with the graphic settings that I put in. As far as actually controlling your character, I specifically used my Brewmaster for this demo because Brewmaster is one of, if not the most button-bloated specs in the game. It has an enormous amount of keybinds, and I picked that specifically to show you that you're not going to be restricted by how many keybinds the class has. You could, raid as a resto shaman. You could do a whole bunch of stuff. The only thing you're going to be restricted on is if you are a healer that wants to click cast, or if you're a DPS class that needs mouse over macros to multi-dot things. So this is probably not good for Boomkins or Affliction Warlocks. I don't really play a lot of Shadow Priest after tested it after they reworked it, maybe that. But if you need to hover your cursor over the nameplate of an enemy to multi-dot it and do this frequently, I think that it's going to be a little bit of a pain on the Steam Deck. So what's targeting right now, and you can see how quickly it switches to different targets, is console port. With that reticle in the center, it just chooses what your target is based on what's under the reticle, which obviously, if you're moving around and looking around quickly, that's not a reliable way to be dependent upon to interrupt like a crucial spell cast. So I have tab target set up, which is one way to just ensure that you're going to be able to kick something. Or what you should do, which is what I do, you can see my right bumper here. This is a focus kick macro. I'm not using it in this dungeon. This is just some heroic dungeon to demo it, but you should be doing this on live anyway on your PC. So you set one of the mobs to focus, and it doesn't matter what you're looking at, what's targeted. If you hit your focus kick macro, it's going to interrupt that spell cast. So I think that you can still cover 2 mobs for kicks. You just have one tab targeted, you have the other one focused, and then you have 2 binds for interrupt. You have the focus kick, interrupt, and regular interrupt, just like you would normally on live, and you're as dependable. So I think that if you're concerned about doing Mythic Plus or raiding, and you're a DPS or a tank, you absolutely can do this on Steam.
Totem.
One caveat is I have not tested Discord communication while playing in game mode, so that might be an issue if you're in a guild and you need to raid. I'm sure people have figured that out and figured out a way to run Discord in the background. I personally haven't tested it, so I can't speak to that, but if that's absolutely crucial, maybe look into that before you get a Steam Deck. On that note, one thing that is annoying is when you play WoW, you often need to have a browser open so you can copy things like weak ores from Wago or Plater profiles and import them into your game. Like right now, as I'm watching this, I'm thinking, I should probably get the interrupt tracker weak aura and put that over here or something so I can see who has their interrupt out. As of right now, there's not an obvious way in game mode to open a browser. So if you don't know, the Steam Deck has 2 modes, game mode and desktop mode. And if you're a Linux nerd like me, you'll understand that they use a different compositor. So game mode is using Wayland and desktop mode is using Xorg server, like Linux has forever. So when you switch to desktop mode to open a browser to copy your Wago import string, that requires closing the game, restarting the Steam Deck effectively. It's a big ceremony, and it's not very seamless to be able to copy something from the browser and put it into WoW, which is pretty annoying. There's people on Reddit who say that there's a way to add Firefox or Brave or whatever as a non-Steam game and open 2 non-Steam games at the same time and somehow alt-tab between them. I haven't set that up because that just seems like a giant pain. So from what I understand, they are going to add a Steam overlay browser like you have when if you use Steam and you open up the Steam overlay, there's a browser in there. They're adding that, I guess, to Steam Deck, so that should be pretty nice. But as it stands right now, it is a little bit annoying to sort of test out your UI or adding things because you're doing it in game mode and you want to play the game. You're doing it in desktop mode and you want to play the game in game mode. Your console port keybinds do not work in desktop mode, so you can't, tinker with it in desktop mode and then pick it up and try it out. It doesn't work like that, so that is a little bit annoying. But once you get everything set up the way that you like it, it's fantastic. It just runs. It's very smooth. The frame rate's great. The controls are much more intuitive than I thought they were going to be. It looks like console port down here switching all over the place, and it's complicated, but it's really not. Like this class again has the most keybinds, so it looks like I'm flipping around a lot. But when I play like my Protection Paladin or my Vengeance Demon Hunter, it's really easy. That's another thing. I wanted to show some Vengeance Demon Hunter gameplay here,
cannot attack that hug.
but the recording just doesn't exist. The way that you record, I'm sure there's a bunch of ways to record. You can, like, you know, spend money and get a capture card or something like that, but the way that many people say that you can record is to use this thing called Decky Recorder, and it's very, very unreliable. So if you wanted to, like, say, get a Steam Deck and do some kind of content creation thing, that's going to take a little bit of looking into. Decky Recorder is very unreliable. But I don't think that's the reason that most people watch this video, if anybody ever ends up watching this. I think that the reticle thing is really great, like the way that you saw me use Ring of Peace there, or if you're a Demon Hunter to use whatever that ability is called, Crashing, Burning Crash, or the leap thing, Warrior Leap. It's you know, really works very, very well, and I don't feel at all disabled with respect to how it works on a desktop with a mouse. It's really great. Again, the targeting thing, I could see that. I'm still getting used to it. Even when I have tab targeting, it still is a little bit awkward. But that's just, you know, I'm not a console gamer, so I'm sure people who are better at using a controller are going to have it feel a lot more natural. And then a couple of the things, like console port allows you to bind things like left bumper, left trigger, or right bumper, right trigger. My hands don't fit on a Steam Deck like that. Like, I have my index finger that's for the bumper and the trigger, like a lot of people do. So I can't really hit left bumper and left trigger at the same time. But that's not really a big deal if you use, you know, your middle finger and index finger. Anyway, this is the end of the gameplay video, so I should probably wrap this up. But I just wanted to say that I'm very pleasantly surprised with my experience playing WoW on the Steam Deck. I'm going to increasingly play more and more serious content on the Steam Deck. And not that I'm going to replace my PC, but, you know, if you didn't have a PC and you wanted to get into WoW, I think that, you know, the Steam Deck is a very, very serious option for doing that. And you could always, you know, put it into desktop mode and play with a keyboard and mouse too. So that's the end of this video, but I hope, you know, if anybody ends up watching this gave you some insight, and I'll continue to make updates as I get more advanced with the Steam Deck and playing WoW on it.